Welcome to Sleep with Myth. Close your eyes and let the world fade away. Tonight we drift beyond time, where gods dream and stories remember their light. The jungle breathed like a sleeping beast. Mist clung to the trees in soft veils, wrapping the trunks in pale silver as dawn tried to push its way through the canopy. Birds called from somewhere high above, their songs distant and echoing, as if they belonged to a different world. Beneath the heavy leaves and vines, the earth was dark and damp, alive with roots and secrets. And through it all, unseen yet always there, a river moved. It was not the greatest river in the world, nor the longest, nor the widest. To the maps of men it was nothing more than a thin, forgotten line of blue. But to the jungle, to the stones and the roots and the waiting silence, it was everything. It was memory. It was breath. It was the river that dreamed. At first, it had dreamed like all rivers do, of rain and cloud, of mountain snow melting into song, of the slow and patient carving of stone. It dreamed of fish and fallen leaves, of moonlight resting on its back. It dreamed of the way stars turned to fireflies when they touched its surface and the way the wind tasted like distant stories. But then, one night, something changed. A long time ago, before men came with iron and fear, a star had fallen into the heart of the jungle. It did not burn the trees or tear the sky. It did not roar or thunder. It drifted down as softly as a firefly, its light trembling like a question. The star did not strike the ground. It sank into the river. For a moment the water turned to light. Every droplet remembered the taste of the heavens. Every stone on the riverbed glowed from within, as if an ancient fire had been lit in its core. The fish paused mid-swim, their silver scales reflecting a light older than the jungle itself. Then it passed. The star disappeared into the deep, and the river returned to its quiet, winding path. But it was no longer the same. Something within it had awakened. A hunger, a memory, a dream that did not belong to water. From that night onward, the river dreamed not only of rain and stone and moonlight. It dreamed of gold, not the dull metal in the veins of mountains, nor the coins men would one day forge and fight over. This was older, purer, closer to the first light that had ever touched the world. It was the color of dawn resting on still water, of sunlight filtering through closed eyelids. It was the warmth of being seen. The river dreamed of itself turned to gold. Not heavy, not cold, but flowing, glowing, alive. And in time, the jungle began to hear its dreaming. There was a village that lived near the river's bend, where the water curved like a sleeping serpent around a small rise of land. The people there did not build walls or towers. Their homes were woven from leaves and wood, open to the air, listening to the stories carried by the wind. They called the river Yaralum, the path of the hidden light. It had always been sacred to them. Children were taught to greet the water at dawn, to place their hands upon its surface and whisper their wishes. Hunters would kneel by its banks before entering the jungle, asking the river to carry them safely and bring them home. The elders never turned their backs to it. They always moved along its edge with quiet reverence, as if walking beside an old friend. One child, however, spoke to the river differently. His name was Amaru. He was smaller than the other children, quieter too. While the others raced between trees and chased sunbeams through the ferns, Amaru would sit by the water's edge and watch the current slip past. Some days he would speak aloud, telling the river about his dreams. Other days he would simply listen, as if the murmurs of the water were telling him stories in a tongue only he could understand. The elders said he had been born during a storm unlike any other, when lightning split the sky and the rain fell so hard it drowned the drums. The river had risen that night, swollen and wild, but it had never crossed the boundary of the village. It had roared and grumbled, but kept its distance, as though guarding them instead of devouring them. In the morning the storm faded, and the river calmed, and beneath a great tree by the water's edge, Amaru had been found. Wrapped in a cloth of woven golden fibers the villagers swore they had never made. From that day on the river watched him. One evening, when the sky was the color of embers and the first stars began to blink awake, Amaru sat at the water's edge with his feet submerged in the cool current. Fireflies drifted between the reeds, their lights echoing the distant shimmer of the heavens. "Yaralum," he whispered. "What do you dream?" The water flowed around his ankles, slow and steady. To most, it would have seemed like nothing more than the river's usual murmur. But to Amaru, there was a pattern beneath the sound, a rhythm like a heartbeat. He closed his eyes. In the darkness behind his eyelids, he saw flashes, not of rock and rain, but of a glow that moved like water. Darkness parted, revealing a river not of blue or green, but of molten light. Its surface burned without heat, and yet he felt warmth pouring from it, winding through his chest like a gentle flame. The image faded, replaced by the quiet hum of the river beneath him. "Gold," he said softly. "You dream of gold." Something beneath the surface stirred. A small wave rose and lapped against his shins, as if in answer. In the nights that followed, the dreams grew stronger. Amaru began to wake with the taste of metal on his tongue and the faint echo of a song in his ears. It was unlike any melody he had heard in the village, slow and wordless, like sunlight stretching across a long horizon. Sometimes he would find small glimmers along the riverbank at dawn. Flakes of light nestled between stones, vanishing when touched. The elders noticed the change too. "Do not stare into the water for so long," one of them warned him, her voice kind but heavy. "It is not our place to listen to every dream. Some were meant to remain asleep." "But what if they are lonely?" Amaru asked. The elder looked at the river, its surface calm and blank, giving away nothing. "Then their loneliness is sacred," she said. "We are only guests in this world. The river was here before us. It will be here when we are gone." Amaru lowered his gaze, but his heart did not listen. Each night he returned to the water. Each night the dreams grew brighter. Far beyond the village, deep within the jungle where even the bravest hunters would not go, the river widened. The trees drew back from this place as though in awe, their roots stopping at the edge of a clearing that could not decide whether it belonged to earth or sky. Here the river was deeper, quieter, Light lingered on its surface long after the sun had set, like a thought that refused to fade. Beneath this still, dark mirror lay the star. It had slept for many lifetimes, its fire turned inward, dreaming of the sky it had once called home. But the river's longing had changed it. Each time the water flowed over it, each time a whispered wish brushed against its dim surface, the star brightened just a little. It began to remember what it had been before falling. Not a burning wound in the sky, but a promise of light. One night, as the jungle held its breath and the world balanced on the edge of silence, the star opened its eyes. The river shuddered. From one end of its winding body to the other, a tremor passed through the water. Fish darted deeper. Roots recoiled. For a heartbeat, the river forgot how to flow. Then it exhaled. A faint golden glow spread through its depths, seeping into the stones and the creatures and the currents. The river's dream had finally found its voice. It began to call. Amaru woke in the middle of the night, his heart pounding in time with a distant rhythm. He could hear it, even through the walls of his leaf-woven home, even beneath the soft breathing of his sleeping family. A hum, low and steady, like a giant heart beating somewhere beneath the earth. He stepped outside. The village lay wrapped in darkness, touched only by the pale light of the moon. But the river was glowing. Not bright like fire, not harsh like lightning, but softly, as if each drop of water had swallowed a piece of dawn. The glow was faint near the village, but Amaru could see it growing stronger upstream, deep within the jungle where no one ventured. He felt no fear, only recognition. "It's you," he whispered to the river. "You're calling." The current brushed against the shore, reaching for his feet. Without waking anyone, without taking anything but the memories in his chest, Amaru began to walk. He followed the river's edge, the soft glow guiding his steps. The jungle opened before him, vines parting, leaves bending away as though the entire forest knew he was not there to harm it. The further he went, the stronger the golden light became. Soon it was not only in the water but in the air. Tiny motes of shimmering dust drifted around him, weightless and slow, like fragments of a broken sunrise. His skin tingled where they touched, and his heart beat faster, not with panic, but with something like joy. "Yaralam," he said softly. "Where are you taking me?" The river answered not with words, but with a widening. The trees thinned, the ground leveled, and at last, Amaru stepped into the clearing. He stopped. Before him lay a wide, still pool, perfectly round, perfectly calm. The jungle ended at its edge, as if unwilling to intrude. Above it, the sky seemed closer, the stars mirrored in the water so clearly that it was impossible to tell where reflection ended and reality began. The pool glowed from within, its depths lit by a golden light that did not belong to moon or star. The air around it vibrated softly, like a song sung with no mouth, no tongue, no breath. Amaru took a step forward. His reflection rippled across the surface, and for a moment, he did not see a small boy from a quiet village. He saw a figure standing at the edge of a river made entirely of light, its current flowing through a city of golden stone and shimmering towers. Eldorado. The name did not enter his mind as a word, but as a feeling, a place that was not merely rich in gold, but made of it, born from it, dreamed into being by a river that had tasted the heart of a star. The vision flickered. He saw streets lined with luminous water, walls that glowed from within, faces shining not with wealth, but with peace. He saw hands touching the golden river, not to claim it, but to remember something it whispered, something about the first light and the last dream. Then it was gone. He stood once more in the jungle clearing, the pool of glowing water before him, the night wrapped tightly around the world. "You," Amaru whispered, his voice trembling, "you want to become that." The water pulsed once, like a heartbeat. Amaru knelt at the edge of the pool and placed his hand gently on the surface. Warmth spread up his arm, into his chest, into his thoughts. And for the first time the river spoke clearly. "Will you walk my dream with me?" Amaru closed his eyes. The sound of the jungle faded. The night grew distant. All that remained was the hum of golden water and the slow, patient pulse of a star that had waited a lifetime beneath the surface of the world. "Yes," he whispered. The river's glow brightened, and deep within its dreaming heart, a path of light began to open, not only through the jungle but through time itself, toward a city that did not yet exist, and yet had always been waiting, a city called by many names, but known in the oldest stories as only one thing: the dream of the golden river. Eldorado. The clearing glowed like the memory of a sunrise. Amaru knelt beside the radiant pool, his fingertips still trembling from the moment the river spoke to him. The jungle around him felt impossibly still. No animals stirred. No leaves shifted. Even the wind seemed to pause, as if waiting for him to breathe. The river's golden pulse rippled outward, soft and steady. "Will you walk my dream with me?" The words echoed not in his ears but in his chest, thrumming like a drumbeat made of starlight. Amaru swallowed. He felt neither fear nor doubt, only a strange, familiar warmth, like stepping toward something he had always known but had somehow forgotten. "I will," he whispered. The surface of the pool shimmered, widening into luminous rings. The jungle shadows stretched and recoiled, lifting like curtains drawn back by invisible hands. Then the river moved, not like water but like thought. Light unfurled beneath the surface, swirling into a slow spiral. The pool deepened, turning from simple water into something vast and unfathomable. It no longer looked like a place one could step into but a doorway into something older than the world itself. Amaru stood slowly, the warmth rising from the pool wrapped around him, brushing his skin like soft fingers, like a parent brushing away tears. He took a step forward, then another until he stood at the very edge. The glow brightened. He closed his eyes, breathed in, and stepped into the water. There was no splash, no cold, no sensation of sinking. Instead, he felt weightless, held, carried by something gentle and immense. The world around him dissolved into swirling gold and deep blue shadows that moved like galaxies in slow circles. He floated, neither falling nor rising. Somewhere in the distance, a heartbeat echoed. Thump, 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 the same rhythm he had heard calling him through the night. As the sound deepened, visions began to form in the golden mist. First came the river Yaralum, not as water, but as a long serpent made of flowing light, coiling through the jungle. The scales shimmered like molten stars. Its eyes were deep pools where dawn slept. Then he saw the star. Small at first, like a spark drifting downward through endless sky. But as it descended, it grew brighter, its light soft and pure. It floated toward the serpent river, not in anger or destruction but in longing. When it touched the water, both river and star glowed with sudden wonder, as though recognizing each other from a time before time. Amaru watched the memory unfurl like a dream awakening. He saw the serpent curl its glowing body protectively around the fallen star, whispering ancient river songs to soothe it. The star dimmed, resting in the river's coils, and the river, changed forever, began to dream with something more than water. It began to dream in light. The vision shifted. Eldorado. He watched them wander closer to the dreaming river. He felt the river recoil, sensing that these men sought not wonder, but possession. The river hid its light, sinking deeper into darkness, waiting, hoping, for someone who could hear it without wanting to own it. The golden mist faded. Amaru found himself standing on solid ground. Except it wasn't ground. It was an ancient stone path, broad, smooth, and glowing faintly beneath his feet, as though lit from within. Symbols he had never seen pulsed gently across its surface. Shapes like suns, flowing water, stars falling into rivers. A whisper brushed his ear. Walk. Amaru took his first step. The path stretched ahead, winding through a place that could not exist. Trees shimmered with leaves of light. The sky glowed in deep blue hues, dotted with constellations he had never seen. Time felt twisted, folded, like he stood in the memory of the world before it learned the difference between day and night. As he walked, the air shifted. A figure stood ahead, tall, shimmering, undefined, as though made of starlight and river water woven together. When the figure spoke, the voice was both many and one, soft yet carrying the weight of mountains and tides. Child of the river's storm, it said, you have heard the calling. Amaru swallowed. His voice trembled. Who are you? I am the light the river swallowed. I am the star that fell. I am the memory that dreams inside Yaralum. The figure stepped closer, and the air warmed like dawn. Long ago, it continued, I fell into your world not by mistake, but by hope. I sought a place that could hold my light without breaking. The river welcomed me. It became my cradle, my dream. Amaru looked down at the glowing path. And Eldorado? The figure smiled without a face. Eldorado is not a city built from gold. It is a city built from dream. A place where human hearts and celestial memory meet. A place meant to rise, when the river chooses the one who can walk in light without taking it. Amaru's breath caught. Why me? The figure lifted a hand of shimmering water light and touched Amaru's forehead. The warmth spread through his entire being, filling him with weightless calm. Because you listen, it said. Because you are not afraid of dreams. Because when the river speaks, you respond with wonder, not desire. The path brightened beneath them. Come, the figure said. There is more to see. They walked together along the radiant path as the dream world shifted around them. Mountains rising and dissolving, jungles blooming and fading like breath. Eldorado was never meant to be found, the figure said. Only remembered. Remembered? Amaru asked. Yes, like a story the world once told itself about hope. A city where light is not owned, but shared. Where gold is not metal, but meaning. The path widened ahead. A vast golden river stretched into the horizon, flowing through a valley made of shimmering air. Along its banks rose towers, faint at first, then clearer, structures that seemed woven from liquid sunlight. The city pulsed gently, as though asleep. Amaru felt his heart tighten. Is that? Yes, said the figure. Eldorado, but only the shadow of it. The dream of what it may become. The city flickered. Some towers brightened, others dimmed. It is waiting, the figure said softly. Waiting for the one who can awaken it. Not with force or greed, but with understanding. With harmony. The river beneath the city surged with light. And the river chose you. Amaru stood trembling. The city called to him, not with hunger, not with promise, but with recognition, as though he and it had known each other before either had been born. What must I do? He whispered. The figure placed a glowing hand over Amaru's heart. Walk deeper, learn the dream, and when the time comes, choose. The dream city pulsed with golden breath. The path before Amaru brightened, and the river's voice whispered through the glowing air. The journey has only begun. Amaru stepped forward onto the radiant path, the dream world shifting around him like a living tapestry. Every breath he drew felt heavier, slower, filled with warmth, as though the world itself inhaled with him. Ahead, the shimmering towers of the dream city brightened. Eldorado, but not yet awake. The golden river flowed along the city's edge like a vein carrying sunlight instead of blood. The current hummed with ancient tones, a wordless song made of longing and memory. Amaru felt it in his bones. The city was alive. Not alive like a person or animal, but alive like a story that never stopped breathing. The river spirit walked beside him, its form fluid, shifting between human shape and shimmering star water. You see not with eyes, it said gently, but with remembrance. Amaru frowned. What do you mean? Dreams are the oldest language of the world. Before people built stone houses or carved words into bark, they told stories through dreams. Eldorado is one such dream, a dream so powerful that it grew roots beneath the earth. They approached a large archway formed from twisting lines of sunlight. The structure was impossibly tall, curving like a sunrise frozen in motion. This, said the spirit, is the gate of first memory. Amaru touched the glowing surface. Warm, soft, alive. A heartbeat, slow and vast, echoed from within the gate. The spirit's voice deepened. Eldorado once lived in the waking world, before it sank back into dream. Sank, yes, not into water, but into forgetting. The gate brightened, responding to Amaru's touch. Human hearts changed, the spirit whispered. There was a time when people came to Eldorado seeking healing, wisdom, harmony. They walked with light in their hands. And then, the air darkened slightly. Then came a time when they walked with hunger. Amaru lowered his hand. Hunger for gold. The spirit nodded. For what they believed gold was. Wealth, power, ownership. But Eldorado's gold is not metal. It is meaning, memory, illumination. When people tried to take it instead of understand it, the gate pulsed. The city hid itself. The gate opened with a soft, luminous exhale. Inside lay a vast courtyard made of golden stone that rippled like water when stepped on. Tall structures rose on all sides, some shaped like spirals, others like open petals, all glowing faintly with steady inner light. Amaru stood in the center, overwhelmed. "It's beautiful," he breathed. "Beauty," said the spirit, "is the river's breath, but there is more." The spirit led him toward a wide circular platform. At its center rose a column of liquid gold, suspended in midair. It spun slowly, and with each rotation, the city around them brightened, as though taking breath from the swirling pillar. "The heart of Eldorado," the spirit said softly. Amaru stepped closer. Within the spinning gold he saw shapes, faces, landscapes, shadows, light. Hundreds of impressions overlapping, shifting, reforming. "What is it?" he whispered. "The city's memory," said the spirit. "Every joy, every sorrow, every dream that was ever given to the river, all held within this golden heart." Amaru reached toward it. The spirit's hand caught his wrist gently. "Not yet. To touch the heart is to show your own memory, your truth. It will reveal yours to itself, and reveal itself to you." Amaru hesitated. "Why me?" he whispered again. The spirit's form flickered, water becoming starlight, becoming water again. "Because you heard the river without asking anything from it. You saw light and did not claim it. And when you stepped into the dream, you stepped with trust, not desire." The spirit stood before him, glowing softly. "You are the first in many generations to listen." Amaru's chest tightened. Around him the city sighed, a soft, shimmering ripple, like a dream slowly waking. The golden river surged silently along the city's edge, sending waves of warm light through the air. "Eldorado waits," the spirit murmured. "But it cannot rise until the heart breathes fully. And the heart cannot breathe fully unless one chosen by the river walks its dream to the end." Amaru looked up at the shining column. "What must I do?" The spirit placed a hand over his heart again. Warmth spread through Amaru's entire body. "You must walk deeper," it whispered, "through the chambers where memory sleeps, through the valley where light remembers darkness, and finally, to the place where the city dreams of itself." The courtyard brightened. A new path opened before them, one made not of stone or gold, but of shimmering, translucent light that hovered just above the ground. "The next step," said the spirit, "is the Chamber of Echoes." Amaru stepped onto the glowing path. Behind him, Eldorado pulsed like a slow sunrise. Ahead, the dream deepened, waiting for him to enter. The golden river whispered, "Walk and remember." Amaru stepped onto the translucent path of light, each footstep sending soft pulses through the air. Behind him, Eldorado glowed with slow, patient breath. Ahead, the path curved toward a cavernous archway woven from threads of starlight and golden mist. The river spirit moved beside him, its form shimmering in and out of shape. Beyond this threshold, it whispered, lies the Chamber of Echoes. Here the memories of the world speak, and only truth can answer them. Amaru swallowed. "Will they harm me?" "No," the spirit said softly, "but they can unmake illusions. Echoes show what is forgotten, and what one fears to remember." The chamber opened before them like the inside of a great celestial shell. Its walls were made of layered gold and obsidian, curving into vast spirals that shimmered with distant reflections. No sound existed inside, so silent it felt as though the world had paused its breath. Then, faint whisper. Amaru turned. Shadows formed along the walls, shaping themselves into moving silhouettes, each echoing a different moment in time. Some were human, some animal, some purely light. They drifted like ghosts made of memory. One of the shadows stepped forward. A young boy with dark hair, barefoot, holding a handmade wooden flute. Amaru froze. "That's me," he whispered. The spirit nodded. "Your first echo." The boy lifted the flute to his lips. A soft, trembling note filled the chamber, fragile, pure. Amaru remembered the moment instantly. Sitting beside the riverbank as a child, trying to mimic the song of the water. The shadow boy played the melody perfectly. The real memory surged through Amaru's heart, warm and painful. But then the echo shifted, becoming distorted, fragmented. The water in the memory churned violently. The sky darkened. He saw himself running through the rain, calling out for someone he could not see. "Mother!" His knees weakened. His knees weakened. He remembered the storm, the sudden flood, the way the river rose faster than anyone expected. And the moment she slipped from his grasp, he squeezed his eyes shut. The chamber pulsed softly, as if acknowledging the pain. "You carried this," the spirit murmured, "but you never let it breathe." Amaru trembled. "I don't want to see it again." "Echoes return," the spirit said gently, "but they do not return to punish. They return to be heard." The memory unraveled, dissolving slowly into warm gold until it vanished. Amaru wiped his face. He hadn't realized he was crying. The spirit rested a hand over his heart. Healing begins where remembrance is allowed. More echoes emerged. A village celebration, laughter, dancing, firelight. A lonely night on the riverbank where he made a promise to never fear the water again. The moment the river first called him, not with words, but with a shimmer of light beneath the surface. All of them passed before him like drifting constellations, each one whispering a piece of who he had been. But then, a new shape formed, not from Amaru's past, from Eldorado's, a towering figure of golden water, armored in shimmering plates of light, stood at the chamber's center. Its presence was vast, ancient, like a memory older than mountains. The spirit stiffened beside him. "What is that?" Amaru whispered. "The guardian," the spirit murmured. "The echo of the city's protector." The guardian spoke, its voice echoing through the chamber like deep thunder softened by time. "Why do you walk the river's dream?" Amaru stepped forward. "To understand, to awaken what was lost." The guardian's form flickered, its glow intensifying. Many sought the city. None entered with truth. "I'm not here to take anything," Amaru said, voice more certain now. "I only want to listen." The chamber brightened. The guardian lowered its massive head. "Then you may see what others could not." It extended a hand of swirling gold. A droplet of light hovered above its palm, glowing like the smallest sun. It drifted toward Amaru, stopping before his chest. "This is the echo of union," the guardian rumbled. "The memory of the river and the fallen star. The moment Eldorado first breathed." The droplet touched Amaru's skin. Warmth flooded him. Images burst into existence. The star falling, the river embracing it, light and water merging, not in accident but in harmony. A bond formed not from need, but from recognition. Eldorado was born not from gold, but from connection. The vision faded, leaving Amaru breathless. The guardian stepped back. "You understand," it said. "And because you understand, the next gate opens." A deep tremor rolled through the chamber. The walls shifted, unfurling like petals opening to light. A new pathway formed, narrow, glowing with deep blue and golden hues. "The valley of dimming light," the spirit whispered, "where even dreams grow afraid." The guardian turned away and vanished into the golden mist. The chamber dimmed, leaving only the new path illuminated. Amaru exhaled slowly. "I'm ready," he said. The spirit nodded with quiet pride. Together they stepped onto the path. Behind them, the chamber of echoes closed, not in silence, but in peace. Ahead, the dream deepened, darker and brighter than before. The golden river whispered, "Go on, we are with you." Amaru stepped onto the dim blue path of light, each footstep sending soft pulses through the air. Behind him, Eldorado glowed with slow, patient breath. Ahead, the path curved toward a vast valley where the dream began to darken. The river spirit's glow dimmed beside him. "This place," it whispered, "is the sorrow Eldorado could not forget." The valley of dimming light waited. The valley opened like a hollowed star, silent, deep, and shifting with drifting threads of shadow. Mist glowed faintly with dim starlight, and the ground shimmered beneath Amaru's feet only to fade moments later. At the center lay a massive chasm, not a wound of nature, but a memory. "What happened here?" Amaru asked. "When the seekers of gold came," the spirit said softly, "the city hid its light, but hiding light creates shadow. This valley is that shadow. A faint pulse rose from the chasm. A feeling, loneliness. The ache struck Amaru's chest. He took a step forward. Careful, the spirit warned. But something called to him. The chasm brightened, and from it rose a massive creature made of fractured light. Its shape shifting between jaguar, bird, and human silhouette. A lumen shade, whispered the spirit. The creature trembled, its golden eyes dim. Why did you leave us? The voice pierced Amaru, not meant for him, but spoken through him to the world that once abandoned wonder. The shade shook violently, cracks of white lightning running across its body. It hurts to remember. Amaru stepped closer, lifting his hands. Light blossomed from his palms, warm, gentle. The creature froze. You weren't forgotten, Amaru whispered. You are part of the river, part of Eldorado, part of its dream. The shade leaned toward the light. His form steadied. It bowed its head. Then it dissolved into drifting golden motes that sank into the shimmering valley floor. The shadows lifted. The valley brightened. The past exhaled. The spirit turned to Amaru, awe shimmering through its form. You healed an echo Eldorado feared. Few could. I just listened. That is why the river chose you. At the far end of the valley, a towering arch formed, deep blue crystal woven with flowing gold. The gate of dawn forgotten, the spirit said. Beyond it lies the deepest part of the dream. Amaru stepped toward the arch. Before passing through, he looked back at the valley, now glowing gently, healed. The golden river whispered, light remembers when someone chooses to remember it. Amaru touched the arch. It opened, and the dream deepened around him. Amaru passed through the gate of dawn forgotten, stepping into a valley glowing with gold, starlight, and dream. At its heart stood the sanctum of returning dawn, neither temple nor palace, but a living dream of light. Inside, the heart of Eldorado hovered, a sphere of molten gold, pulsing gently. It recognized him. The river spirit whispered, "This is where the dream chooses, and where you must choose in return." As Amaru approached, the heart spoke through warmth, not words. Do you walk to awaken us, or to seek truth, or to remember what the world has forgotten? Amaru whispered, I walk because dreams deserve to wake, because the world needs wonder. The heart brightened. Light wrapped around him and filled his sight. He saw Eldorado in its first dawn, people walking rivers of light, stars drifting above their hands, the city humming with harmony. Then he saw fear, outsiders seeking to turn meaning into metal. He felt Eldorado dim itself, hide itself, sink into silence, not out of defeat, but protection. He felt its longing to be seen again, not claimed, not conquered, remembered. The visions faded. The river spirit whispered, now the final choice. Eldorado can return to the waking world or remain in dream. If he chose return, wonder could rise, but so could greed. If he chose hiding, Eldorado stayed safe but forgotten. Amaru placed his hand on the heart of Eldorado. Light erupted, soft, pure, endless. The city shimmered, not waking, not vanishing, but choosing a third path. We will return, not as a treasure, but as a memory that heals, not for all, only for those who still dream. The sanctum dissolved, the river spirit faded. Eldorado folded gently into starlight. Amaru opened his eyes beside the real river. Morning sunlight touched the water. Birdsong filled the jungle. For a heartbeat, the river glowed gold. Thank you, whispered the current. You walked with us. I'll never forget, Amaru whispered. And the golden river dreamed again, not in hiding, but in hope.